Welcome to the Aging Better podcast. Here we talk about a holistic approach to aging well, covering health, mindset and lifestyle. We discuss aged care for residents and their families and anyone working in the industry who cares for our elderly. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay connected and never miss an episode. We're back.
Right. We are back, baby. And today is going to be, I feel it's going to be informative because this is stuff that I would like to know about. Today, we are talking about how do I choose a nursing home?
Yeah.
You might not be choosing for you. You might be choosing, I mean, the reality is that if it's a family member or something like that, that might have been in home and they've come to a point where they just can't provide the amount of care that they need anymore in the home.
Yes.
How do I go about this process?
Yep. And that's a good point. Often people do need to go into an aged care facility. What's the word? They don't have a choice. Yeah. They perhaps have had a fall. We often say that falls are the number one reason, particularly catastrophic fall with a fracture, and it's very difficult to go back to home. But there are lots of people still who will choose as well. They'll say, okay, I think now's the time to move into a situation like that where I can get a lot of the, ADLs, the activities of daily living looked after by care staff, get their meals looked after and that sort of thing. So what do we look for when choosing a nursing home for a loved one or even for ourselves?
Just before we get into that, I just want to point out that we don't represent anyone. We're not sponsored by any nursing home chain. We're not going to promote a particular brand or style, but we're just going to talk about some of the things that maybe you should be considering in making this decision.
And we work with a lot of facilities, a lot of different providers, for-profit and not-for-profit, and rural and regional and city and everything in between. So we're not here to pit one against the other or anything like that, but just to give those options, I suppose, and the different things that you're going to find in different environments.
Yeah.
And some things can be horses for courses. Some things might suit one person and not the other. So we'll have a look at a few of these things.
So this is probably your area of expertise. Care. Let's talk about quality of care.
Yes,
in a
quality
nursing
of
home
care
context
is very important. Now, recently, we talk about the staff to resident ratio, and recently, I think it's been since 2024, there was an interim that came in 2023. They've mandated the amount of minutes per day that a person needs to receive to be in an aged care facility. It's 215 minutes a day of care, which is quite a lot, actual one-to-one face-to-face care, and 44 of those minutes must be an RN. And RNs must be in the facility 24/7. So that was a big change that happened a few years ago.
So there weren't always RNs in the facilities, is that right? Or?
No, and historically there was different levels within facilities as well. So it was kind of two speeds in a sense. There was low care and high care. Low care used to be called hostel back in the days. We don't really use those terms anymore, but still you kind of still find that a little bit. Maybe people are more agile and more mobile and do more for themselves, more independent. They'll go out more and that sort of thing, and it's more about the accommodation and food and those sort of things. Yeah. Whereas a high care, well, we'd say nowadays, the higher care style facility is more about the care element, the nursing care that's given, and the RN's involvement, and physio and allied health, very important. Yeah. Very important. So different facilities will have different amounts of physio and allied health, occupational therapy and other therapies as well, podiatry and things that we've talked about before, but that's one to look out for. It's something I would personally look at. I'm a little bit biased in that area, but some where there's a good therapy program, there's good activities that are, engaging with exercise and helping people to maintain their abilities or even improve their abilities if they've had an injury or something like that. So that's very key.
Yeah. So cleanliness is next to godliness.
It is. And it's a safety thing as well, I think. Yeah. And look, I would say, the standards in facilities these days through the accreditation system are extremely high for both of those areas, for cleanliness and safety. So they need to provide a very safe environment that is very flat, that the floor coverings are not too grippy and not too slippery, and that people can live and work and function in those facilities in a fairly safe way. But have a look around at that sort of thing when you're going to a facility. Have a look at your personal feeling about the cleanliness and safety element.
All right. So the living environment and comfort. If I go to them, I sometimes find the nursing homes, even though they're clean and everything, they can be a little bit sterile in vibe. What do you think about, like a sense of comfort?
Look, I think that is still there. It's probably more historical, and people, I think, do judge aged care facilities on the past quite a lot.
That is very true.
Lots changed in 5 years, 10 years, and beyond. So if you've got a view that, that's the last place in the world I would send my relative, and, I would never do that to them, and it was a terrible... Take a second look, because the industry has changed dramatically. There's so many eyes on it. There's so many mandatory requirements that are upon that group because they're a vulnerable population, and you'll find you might be pleasantly surprised. But there's levels as well. And, of course, there are user pay elements as well. There's some that are extra services. That term is, again, becoming a little bit dated, but there's more services that you can receive, and also the decor and the way that the layout is, or how new and nice it is, and all that sort of thing.
Well, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, I would never put my family in a nursing home. And I was like, have you been to one? And they're like, no, I had this experience and it's turned me off. And I was like, I was doing some work at one, with you, and mate, it was nice. There was a lovely cafe in the foyer and tables out in the gardens and
calming music.
Mate, I was like,
cafe and the whole thing.
I think I did a session and then went down and hung out in the cafe myself. There's some water, trickling down. I was like, this is beautiful.
One facility I went into, it was probably a year or two ago, had a massive fish tank with a stingray. A live stingray in the fish tank. I thought, this is good. This is pretty cool.
Steve Irwin triggering moment.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit. Well, there's a pane of glass in between you and it.
Okay, so...
I would say this, though. Noise is a thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the layout. Sometimes it's the activity that's going on in the facility. Sometimes it's there can be just a level of busyness that's going on, and certain times of the day, of course, more than others. Some people like that. Some people want to be around activity and a buzz and, things happening all around them. And other people know they'd prefer it to be a bit pin drop, silent and that sort of thing. Yeah. So that is a thing. I would, check that out according to your liking.
Yeah. Food.
Food is a thing. Now that Maggie Beer has done a lot of work in this recently.
Yes.
People might have seen this on TV, and we've connected with some of those facilities as well, and really good things in terms of A, the nutrition, and B, the satiation and the desire for the food. So I think, again, people immediately think of nursing home food, it's something out of the ark, it's all pureed and it's all just mashed together. Well, I remember those days, back in the 90s. I've been to places like that. Thankfully, they're no more. There's more variety than ever before. There's a change of the menu throughout the week.
Different cultural cuisines and stuff.
Absolutely.
I've seen, and
definitely. And some facilities do have cultural clusters as well. There may be more of an Asian cluster. There may be more of a South Asian, Indian, Pakistani. There may be European. So that's a thing as well. And then they'll cater for those needs from the culinary perspective as well.
All right. So I think one of the big things is social activity and lifestyle.
Very important. And again...
And I think this is the area that's underrated.
Underrated, and some people are more gregarious than others, right?
Yeah.
Some people want to go to everything and they're into everything and all be a part of it. And other people, they want to just go to certain things. So I think it's good to check out the facility and ask that question to the activities and lifestyle officer. There's usually a person who is dedicated to that role, and ask them, what do they provide? Your bingos and those sort of things are a given, but what else do they do? What's happening with exercise and group exercise, and music therapy and art and pet therapy? They bring dogs in and puppies and all fun things like that as well. So,
and excursions to shopping malls and not just a whole range of different
lots
activities.
Of bus trips and going to lots of different things. So that stuff would be good to work out what fits for you or your loved one.
And I think one of the things that we need to we need to remember is, in one of our previous episodes, we talked about, family connection. And one of the things that, I've done a bit of stuff in nursing homes over the years, and going in and seeing people and no one's visiting them.
Yes.
I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And so if we are thinking about it, let's make sure that we're putting them in there, but then making sure that we're carving out time
Yes.
to actually spend time
Yeah.
going and visiting, going and connecting, bringing
Yes.
in the kids, bringing the grandkids,
Definitely.
providing that family support. So it's not like we're just abandoning people, but
Yes.
we're actually, connecting in and being part of the community. Maybe coming in when the activities are on so that
Yes.
you can be a part of the activity process.
Yeah.
And working with the activities people within the facility
Yes.
to make those connections.
Well, it makes those things more purposeful for the
Yeah.
person who's in there as well. We love that. When we're,
Yeah.
as a physio, and you're in there, you're doing a group exercise or exercise, even with an individual and a family member is there, great, we're a team. We're
Yeah.
all in this together and we're working towards the same goals. The old story, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to look after our elderly as well. So I 100% agree, and work together as a team. Maybe don't all go at once.
Yeah.
I'll go on Thursday and you go over the weekend and we'll space it out. And we've done that with our own family members and it's quite effective, yeah.
Yeah. I think I think this whole area, the encouragement is to think again.
Absolutely.
And do your research, do
Yeah.
your homework.
Yes.
There is a lot changed in this, and there's also steps in the process. It's not like you go from everything's completely fine to there might be less mobility. There might be putting things in place in the home,
Yes,
and then maybe moving into supported living.
that's right.
So there's a number of steps in this process.
There's steps, yeah, that's right. So it's good to consider all those things and get help. We also work in rural and regional areas and some remote areas as well, and it's a different environment. It's a different type of care, and a lot of family and community involvement there as well. So I think each scenario is a little different. There's no right answer. You must go to this particular facility for anyone. There's so many options out there. I think geography is a very important thing, and the ease of being able to visit. In and out of normal work hours and those sort of things as well.
Yeah.
So all that's very. When I first started in aged care, you would rarely see people during the day. People in the facility were late 70s, 80s. There's the occasional person in their 90s. But over time, as I've gone in my profession, people who are in their late 80s and 90s, and their kids are retired.
Yeah.
And they're in their day, visiting during the day, and other times they would have been working. So I love that. It's great. It shows you that people are living longer, they're living weller, and also that support is able to be offered at different times compared to what it used to be.
Yeah. And so I just think that if you are thinking about it, you're coming into it, these are a few things for you to take into consideration.
Definitely.
And but I think one of the core messages is give them a chance.
Give them a chance, check them out. There's for-profit, there's not-for-profit, there's religious groups, there's community groups, the RSL and local community organisations. So many different ways that they're run with different philosophies as well that you want to, align with your personal philosophy. So important to check out all of those stuff, the values of the people who are working there and also running it and aligning with your own. So, there's so many elements. Hopefully this has been helpful today.
Yes, and there are social workers and people out there that will help you with this process. But if you want to engage with us in the conversation about this, comment underneath or, send us, stories of your experience, especially if you had a positive one.
Yes.
We don't want the whole thing to be, oh, no, it was the worst thing in the world. No, we're trying to
The
get
good
people to
news
see.
stories.
We're trying to get people to rethink this.
Yeah.
Because I've actually, had poor experiences in the past. But recently, I've had some amazing experiences.
Yeah.
And so I think it's let's encourage people to think about how we can support our loved ones better.
And I'll set aside a room for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll go to one of your gyms.
Yeah, come to one of the gyms.
Yeah.
I'll be down, maybe across the hall. And we could have a DJ set up. And
I'll
we
learn
can
to play
have some-
canasta. It'll be
Yeah,
beautiful.
Definitely.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Aging Better podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, follow us, and share it with someone. I'm John Riley. Thank you.